It is 5 p.m. in the Central Kingdom. I just got home a little bit early. I figured I'd go live for 5. I wanted to talk about, let me remind you, you're watching the Frank Monday channel where we go live for 5 any old time we want because that's the way it works. Whew, I'm pooped though. It's been a long day. And I just wanted to chime in for a minute to make sure that everybody's doing well out in Happy Land. And I wanted to add my support, my voice of support to Eric. Hey, look, Karen's out there. Karen, what are you still doing up? It's like got to be 1, 2 o'clock in the morning for you. I wanted to add my voice of support to Monsieur Eric Dubé. I've been watching his Flat Earth videos. I watched his feature presentation Level about 3 days ago, and I've been watching. I think I've watched every video on his channel. So it's spelled Eric Eric Dubay Dubay. 12:39. Okay, that's not too late, huh? Looks like there might be people out in Happy Land. I figured you guys would all be in bed, man. All you West Coast cats. I can't believe the amount of proofs and how much like his videos just ring true with common sense. I mean, good God, why couldn't anybody see it before? Hey, Paul, what's happening, man? Don't you? Yeah, it's only 5 p.m. here, bro. I just got home. I figured I'd go live for 5. Um, I can't stay on here too long. Everybody's gonna start getting home here in a minute, and I got a lot of homework I need to do. Yeah, Dubay, Dubay, Eric Dubay, Eric Dubay. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I wanted to make sure the temple door was locked. It's 8 in the morning where you are. Okay, hey Paul. Ha, what are you doing up so early, man? Just go to work. Get yourself a job, a job. I'm sure you do have a job. You're in England, right, Paul? I believe you said Birmingham. Have you guys experienced the flat Earth paradigm? Just getting ready. Good man. Get her done. Yo, come on. That'll get the lead in your pencil. Did you look up Gohong? Gehong. You could do it later. Maybe I'll do a presentation on Gohong. He's a good guy. Mantak Chia. Yeah, good guys. I feel I've never been to England, man. I'd like to go to England or Ireland, perhaps. Okay, I'm not familiar with the Citizen Man. So in 2017 is when I started thinking about the flat Earth paradigm, and I don't remember why. I think it was because I was going through Dr. Robert Anton Wilson's book Prometheus Rising, and in that he doesn't. Bob Wilson never says that he's a flat earther, but he had a cartoon where he was making fun of. I'll have to check him out. Citizen Man Black. Okay, I'll check him out. But Dr. Bob, this was like back in the when was Prometheus Rising? Maybe I should grab my copy. I got a copy here somewhere. But like probably the 80s or 90s, I think, is when he wrote Prometheus Rising. But he was making fun of the globe earthers. And he just had some cartoons in there about like holding on to a globular Earth as it's rotating at 1,000 miles an hour and shooting through space at, you know, 66,000 miles per hour or whatever, and the sun, you know, trailing the sun that's doing whatever. You know all the numbers. They're all stupid. But anyway, so I put myself through that paradigm, and I think I told this story a little bit before. And I was on the flight home from Beijing to LA, and I was like, oh my God, you could just feel how flat it is. And then when I read that information that for the airlines, That's right, it would. The airlines make assumptions for pilots. The pilots are to assume that the earth is flat and that it's stationary. And so that's an indicator right there. Ballistics, they do the same thing. And shipping, oceanographers or whatever, guys that go across the ocean, they're all under the assumption that it's flat and it's stationary. And so I tried to put myself through that paradigm for a good solid month or 6 weeks or whatever. And I was telling you guys how my sister's my brother-in-law, yeah, my brother-in-law had just berated me and made so much fun of me. And he's a big Hollywood guy. And he's like, "Oh my God, you're a flat earther." And I'm like, "No, bro, I'm not. I'm researching it because it was mentioned in a book, and I wanted to experience the paradigm of trying to imagine that it's flat." So I humored him. I let him make fun of me, and he gave me a hard time. He still gives me a hard time to this day. And he's like, "Well, nothing you say matters. None of your opinions are relevant because you're a flat earther." And so it gave him a way to put me in a box. And but that never killed my resolve. To him, I'd be like, "Nah, bro, I'm not a flat earther. I'm just playing with it." And I tried to explain that to my sister, and my sister actually got angry at him a couple of times. And she's like, "He already explained to you that this is an intellectual exercise that he's doing." But the point being of the story, the reason I want to bring the story forward and I think it's relevant is because it supercharged all my magic and my life. And I thought, well, what does it matter? Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you're familiar with Sherlock Holmes. Him and Dr. Watson were having a discussion, and that's interesting. But Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson's were having a discussion. Yeah, it is. It's serious fascism. I agree with you. But they were having a discussion, and Dr. Watson was explaining to Sherlock Holmes. I forget which story it's in. There's like 60 Sherlock Holmes stories, and I've read them all, and I've read all the accompanying fan written material, lots of fan fiction material that has been written about Sherlock Holmes. But I know that it was in one of the original stories, and Dr. Watson was explaining to Holmes that the sun goes around the planet and the planet's a globe and it's rotating on its axis. And Sherlock's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And Dr. Watson said, "Don't you know that? These are revelations since Copernicus and so on and so forth." And Holmes is like, "Let me explain something to you, Watson. The mind is like an attic, and you can fill that thing with the tools that you need to do your work." He said, "Whether the earth is a globe spinning around the sun or it's a flat plane with the sun going over it makes no difference to me. It's not one of the facts or tools that I need in the attic of my mind to be able to function and do my work as a detective." He said, "I'm an investigating detective, and the fucking shape of the earth does not matter 2 cents to me. It doesn't matter." And so I thought it was funny because, on the one hand, you get the flat earth, round earth paradigm early on. We're talking, this is 100 years ago when Doyle wrote those books. And of course, he was a Mason. Um, and it's like Newton when he said, the sun's 24 million miles away, 58 million miles away. Either will do. It doesn't matter. And I thought, but it does. Like, my big question for Monsieur Eric Dubé is, how fast is the sun going? And I know according to the flat earth model, it goes different speeds according to where it is on its spiral, right? And it just makes so much more sense that because you look at the sun, it's up there, it's moving, it's zooming across the sky, and you can feel that the earth is flat. Yeah, and the CIA director Casey, back during the 1960s or whatever, he said that their misinformation campaign would be complete when everything that the American people believed was false. Then they would know they had done a good job. And so I ask people, I say, which part of that equation don't you understand? Why would you believe anything they say if their intention, their campaign, is to spread misinformation about everything? When everything the American people believe is false, they feel like they're doing a good job. So, how can you say, oh, well, I believe some of this and but what about this and what about that? And it's like, oh my God, you're missing the entire statement for its relevance. They're not going to lie to you about one thing. They're going to lie to you about everything. So you're don't blow any smoke up my ass, Paul. I'll float away. No, I I think Eric is onto something, and I enjoyed his work. And he did a really good job with all of his videos. I haven't watched any of his rap videos or any of the other things, but that same uncle that made fun of me for experimenting with the flat Earth paradigm, he also took me to Club 33. He's a life member of Disneyland, and he's kind of a big shot in Hollywood. He's done some stuff, but I tried to get him to get me work in Hollywood, and that's why I wanted to go. I wanted to move my family back to China, or back to the United States. I'm letting the chat in there confuse me a little bit. And so I wanted to find work that I could afford to buy a home and a car and raise a family in California. And I've got a degree, and I've got 20 plus years, like 25 years now, of experience as an English teacher. Paul, Club 33 is the Freemasonic Lodge at Disneyland in Los Angeles. Anyway, and I heard, and Eric Dubé, he was talking about the number 7, and he thought that G in the Freemasons is the number 7, but I think he's wrong there, because in Greek it's Alpha, Beta, Gamma. It's the third letter. And in Hebrew, which is what most of the Masonic stuff is based on, it's based on Judaism, it's Alpha, Beth, Gimel. So it's the third letter. But gravity, they think it means gravity. It's not. It's the generative force is the G. They're talking about the Godhead. No, I'm not. I actually tried to join the Freemasons because I wanted all the benefits that come with it, like being able to rise to the upper echelons of at least the middle class. I wasn't trying to get to the, up to the top or nothing, but I like the apron and the trowel, and I like the ritual, and I like Rosicrucianism. So I thought, hey, if I can infiltrate the Freemasons, I can blow the whistle. But they could see right through me. They know, number one, that I'm a big mouth, and number two, that I'm not buying into any of their horse shit. And number three, I'm not a faggot. So it would be very hard for me. I mean, I don't have anything against homosexuals. I'm sorry. I retract that statement, but I'm not gay. I'm not a homosexual. And that's kind of a part of being in the boys club, is you've got to bend over and take it up the rear. And, they got a bad name on a lot of things, but I don't let reputation about something like that necessarily deter me from looking into it myself. Because I was also told that if I came to China, they would harvest my retina and my kidneys, and I'd end up in a slave camp or something. And the whole world's kind of enslaved. It's like the old we can't even mention his name, but that man which will not be mentioned, but you can make the connection. Alexander the Great and Indiana Jones. So Dr. Jones, he used to call this place Prison Planet. Yeah, Masons are pretty big worldwide. In fact, I was looking to try to find the lodges here in Beijing, and it turns out China has forbidden, like it's illegal to run a Masonic lodge in China. But there used to be a lodge in Shanghai and Beijing up until the 1950s. But during the Cultural Revolution, they kicked out all they kicked they you can't officially practice religion or Freemasonry here. Yeah, you're familiar with that guy. That guy who cannot be mentioned. So anyway, I love all of the accoutrements. I love the checkerboard floors and Boaz and Joaquin, the twin pillars and doing the Masonic rites. I think all that is wonderful because I'm into ceremonial magic, as you know. And I thought, well, maybe there's some way to go up through, Master Mason and then become a Grand Mason and so on. And maybe there's something there. Maybe I'd learn some secrets. Not that I really think there is any big secrets, but the globular earth, as opposed to the revelation of the realm, which is what I'm now calling it, the level earth plane. That's probably one of the big secrets. I mean, they'd never reveal it to you, but I wanted to see if they had some inside information aside from the regular books you can get on their material, because it is all about the process of internal alchemy and even learning something about the external alchemy as well, and its fraternity. And that's the main reason I was looking into it, is because I knew a couple of other Masons here in Beijing, and one of them gave me yeah, the holodeck. One of them gave me an apron, like a genuine apron, a Master Mason's apron, like a neophyte, like basically the level one. And he gave me an apron, and he gave me three of the books they use in that you have to memorize and then recite. So I like doing that kind of thing. Like with the Temple of Astarte, we also do that. You have to memorize the lines in the ceremony, and then you do a performance of it. And that helps bring people to the same page in the studies. You do the studies and you take the tests and so on and so forth. So I thought it would be cool, and I applied to them several times, but they never got back with me. But it turns out that, yeah, the Masons, like I was saying, they can't practice here in China. But all of the guys at the embassy, now here's where it fell apart for me. And I'll tell this story as encoded as I can, because I started teaching Boy Scouts and I became a scout leader. And all of those guys are Masons, and they're all CIA, they're all intelligence agency guys and stuff. And it's all the guys that work at the embassy and their kids and so on. And so I did good with that. I had fun. You prep classes, you teach the kids how, knot tying and how to sharpen a knife and how to, do some bushcraft. And that's why I liked that. But at the end of 2019, around October, is when they all started getting squirrely and they were all pulling out. And they're like, they weren't being open about it, but they showed such cowardice at the coming crisis. And I saw all of the chess pieces that were getting put into position here in Twilight Zone Old Peking. And I knew something was coming down the line because they started putting in the installations for the big situation well in advance. And the guys at the embassy, the U.S. embassy, they were cowards, man. They all turned tail and ran. And they suggested that I get my family out too. And I was like, are you guys going to help me do that? You're going to offer us flights home or whatever? And they're like, no, we can't offer you any help, but we suggest that you get out, because shit's going down. And so that was inside information from the Boy Scouts, all embassy guys, all intelligence agency guys. And I was like, that's so fucked up. You guys are fucked up. You're cowards. You're up to no good. Yeah. And it broke my heart, man, because we're supposed to be, teaching the kids to be Boy Scouts and be brave and honorable and all these virtues. And then Masonic rites, too. Like, they're trying to instill all these virtues of goodness and stuff. And then I could see them, their machinations behind the curtain, and that they were up to no good, and that it was all going sour. And at the same time, they were all so goddamn frightened for their own safety and their own family's safety. And it's like, the fuck? So, their level of cowardice in the face of crisis made me feel like I don't need to join the Masons. And I'm not saying that any given individual represents the whole, but it was all of them, man. They all displayed a high level of cowardice in the face of crisis, and just treachery in general. And I thought that's the way it goes. You know, you've got all the top dogs, and look what they're up to. They're pulling BS, and they're chickens. And I'm not gonna align myself with that type of energy. So maintaining myself as an individual practitioner and staying right here in the thick of it, you know, and not being scared of it. I mean, what are you gonna do? You at some point your card's gonna get pulled, and if you live your life as a person. Yeah, I think you do, Paul. I think that's part of it. They realize that I don't have any money, and so that's probably why they don't want me. Their street address adds up to 13 Broadway Police Station, Fire Station. Yeah, yeah. A lot of the fire and police and all of those guys, they're all members in the club. If you're going to rise to the upper echelons of any of those institutions, you get invited, and if you don't take the invitation, then you don't get advanced. So that's the way it works. I know that's how it works. They say that they're open to anyone, and you can seek them out. And if you petition a brother Mason to give you an application, that they're actually supposedly required to do so by honor, but they don't. I petitioned several Masons to give me applications and to sponsor me into the Brotherhood, and they don't. They don't. They don't live up to what they're supposed to do. And there's nothing worse than a treacherous coward. So I'm better off without them, you know? Better off as a lone wolf. Yeah, that's all I had for you. I figured I'd go live for 5 and just talk about my flat earth paradigm. I wasn't going to talk about any of that other shit, but all roads lead to Rome, as they say, you know? Yeah, you have to. The same with with Disneyland. Disneyland's a big part of it. And if you want to get into the $10 million club, you actually have to give up a family member. It could be your mother, could be a brother, but and then you get out of town for a couple of days, and it has to be a blood sacrifice. And that's not conspiracy theory bullshit. That's the truth. I know firsthand about some of the stuff that goes on in the medium echelons. Oh yeah, it's it's there used to be a lot of videos on the internet you could learn about it, but you can't talk about those topics anymore. They're verboten. You know, I'm surprised that Eric's even allowed to keep his flat Earth Revelation of the Realms channel up with as clear cut as his dissertation is. And I know that his channel has been taken down more than once because his sub base plus his view count. Yeah, that's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. It happens. My dad was high level Navy intelligence and had a business in LA. And he was actually one of the original investors in Paramount Pictures, but he would not join. And as a result, he was only able to stay at a certain level in life. His businesses were never able to thrive. And ultimately, because of his refusal to become a member, eventually he lost everything. So it's either conform or be cast out. It's always been that way. So me personally, I mean, I'll I'll probably never rise higher than I am right now, which doesn't bother me. I'm not looking to be in a position of, a power and authority and stuff like that. But if the opportunity does come forward, then they will ask me to join. And I'd do it, man. And I'd probably shut down the channel and start talking about other things. But ultimately, I would do it so that I could write a book and reveal some of the things that I know and bring 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 some light and truth to the situation. They closed Freeman Fly. Freeman. Did you just show about her? Freeman had a big following and a big channel here, and he got closed down. He went behind a paywall. So Freeman's still active, I think, but he doesn't do much anymore. But if you want to learn about the inside machinations of the Freemasons, you can watch Freeman Fly's channel. I mean, it's all been said already. And it's not my gig anymore. Taoism's my gig. I pulled out of that. I was in the Lutheran thing, and in the Lutherans we don't do the Boy Scouts, we do the Royal Rangers. But I was being trained for all that when I was a boy, and just didn't appeal to me. I mean, the uniforms and the ceremony, all that appeals to me. I like that aspect of it. But the treachery and the intrigue behind the scenes, I'm not down for that. At heart, I like to think that at heart I'm really a naive and noble guy. I want to see good done, and I don't want to trick people, and I don't want to align with a conspiracy against the people, which I've been told is foolish, because they say 90% of them are just useless eaters and worthless. And I disagree with that sentiment. Like, I disagree with the sentiment that the only way into heaven is through Jesus. I mean, I know Tracy feels that way, but I disagree. I think that everybody has an opportunity to live a good life and be admitted into the heavenly kingdom. If it doesn't matter what you believe, it's how you live. And I truly believe that. I know Dr. Farrell would disagree with me because he's very orthodox, and he thinks that you need to be a religious practitioner. But the New World Order's religion is science, and I agree with you, Paul. I'm looking for answers too, and I think that's a better path. I think, and I'll quote George Washington. He was a Masonic brother, right? Um, so I'll quote George Washington. He said that you should defer from making your ultimate irrevocable decision provided there's more data to gather. And so, for what that means to me, that's a direct quote from George Washington. And so, what that means to me is that you should hold most of your beliefs in abeyance and think, okay, I'd like to think this, right? I have a multi model approach. I've got faith in it. I think there's an intelligent design. And more than likely, there's a Godhead. I've seen paranormal experiences, but there's more data to be gained, right? So you hold your ultimate irrevocable decision in abeyance. And that way you can gather more data. Yeah, be scientific about it. Genuine science, not the cult of science, right? Hold your ultimate irrevocable decisions in abeyance, gather more data, and like Tracy was saying, you'll find out when you die. But I'm a little more advanced than that. I think you should had better start working towards finding out while you're alive. Sex magic is one way to waken up the chakras and have a divine experience. It's one aspect of life. You don't have to go that route though. There are other methods. There's internal alchemy. There's qigong. There's sports. You can receive a certain level of enlightenment from excelling in any area of life, whether it be art or scholastic endeavors. Um, Too much intellectual dichotomy destroys the wholeness of life. So, like Socrates said, the more knowledge you gather, the uglier you become. No one can question the Vaika Fuchi. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, he's a fucking asshat. I hear he's a Swiss Nazi. He was in up to his neck in it from day one, and I knew that. I was doing the research. That fucking asshat, that ass clown. Bad news, that guy. Again, I can't get into the verboten topics, and I'm not going to because why lose all of the work that I've put forward just to pontificate on what those fucking fucknuts are up to, right? I mean, all I'm going to talk about on my channel is things that pertain to the community in spreading our own ideas and elevating our own energy levels. So, like the Kabbalion has answers. The Kabbalion by the Three Initiates, it was only written 100 years ago, and it's a Masonic textbook. I mean, it's a Masonic pamphlet, I'm quite sure, or Rosicrucian. But it's got the direct transmission of Hermes Trismegistus. The great work of Masonry put forth by Eliphas Levi, Aleister Crowley, Israel Regardie, these kinds of guys, is about getting greater control of your own faculties. So, Paul, if you're still there, read Franz Bardon, Franz Bardon, Bardon. Franz Bardon can wake up your magical faculties pretty quickly. He's got great material. I mean, it's a rigorous regimen of opening the pathways of the mind. And then real magic, like directly manifesting the things you want in life. The secrets are all out there. The textbooks are there. You can do it on your own. You could do it with me. Hell, I woke up to magic when I was like 12, 13 years old. And like, I had, I forget which grimoire I had. I had like the Book of Ceremonial Magic by Arthur Edward Wyatt. And I studied that thing like it was, how can I describe it? 13 years old, I got the copy of that book, and I had my tarot deck because I've been doing tarot since like a child. My mom gave me a tarot deck. But like 13 to 15, I read that Arthur Edward Wyatt's Book of Ceremonial Magic, and I thought, man, there must be some sort of secret in here, right? And I read that thing cover to cover like 20 times in 2 years or something. And one day it struck me, and I'm like, none of this ceremony matters. None of these rituals. I mean, because it had crazy ass incantations in there and like spells where you had to take a pure black cat, and put it in a boiling cauldron and curse it every time it screamed, and you had to build these magic wands from like a willow tree and stuff like that. Tons of stuff. Just totally off the fucking wall shit. And invocation of the Tetragrammaton. And I'm thinking to myself, is any of this necessary? Well, I mean, I didn't. I was planning on doing it. I'm like hunting down neighbors' cats and looking for a blood sacrifice to awaken my magic and shit. But then like I was doing my kung fu too. And yeah, Paul, let me tell you this story. So I was in the hallway one day, and my brother had been doing internal iron palm for like 2 years already, which is a high level qigong practice. And he struck me with the iron palm, and a big like lightning bolt of chi rose up out of his body and bam, went into my body and then stuck me to the ground and almost knocked me out. Yeah, he was doing internal iron palm. We learned it from our Xingyi teacher. And I wasn't doing it yet. I didn't start doing it till I was about 17. But he was already doing it for like 2 years. He could break bricks and shit, and we were doing iron body, which, is all high level Qigong practice stuff. But at the same time, I'm reading these manuscripts, thinking about magic. And I wanted the magic angle. He wanted the warrior angle. But we were like, I don't know if you guys have read Dragonlance, but we were like Rassilon and Caramon. And so I was Rassilon and he was Caramon. And he hit me with that bolt of energy, and it like knocked me out, but it also like knocked me out of my body so that I astrally projected. And later on, I was back in that same spot in the hall, and I had experienced some like apotheum, some like time dilation. And I'm looking at this grimoire, and I'm like literally like memorizing the incantations. And I'm like, I'm gonna find a fucking cat, I'm gonna murder it and all this shit. And then it struck me. It came to me. I thought, if magic is real, and I believe that it is real, then the power is in the mind. It's Volantia, which I learned later on. But in Chinese, I knew that it was called E. E means your intention. Your E is wherever you place your conscious attention, that's where the power goes. And then later on, maybe a decade later, I found it in Ge Hong's book, The Shen Shen Zhuan, or the Canon of the Immortal. But he says in that book, he says, Yi Dao, Qi Dao, Xue Xing. Or if you put your E there, then the chi will follow and manifest there. And then whatever it is you have your E on, that's what becomes the reality. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to choose one of these spells and I'm going to put my E on it. And I did. I just put my E into it and I thought, all I need to know is that the magic is real and my intention is going to awaken this spell. And I thought I can do the ritual in my mind. I don't need to get a cat and murder it in a cauldron. I don't need a willow branch wand. I don't need any of this shit. I don't need any of the trape scenes. All I need is the intention. So I sat down, I opened up the ritual, I went through it in my mind, I read the incantations, and bam, within, it was either 2 or 3 days, the manifested result of that spell became a reality. And I was like, there it is there. And in the post-Possism, the third part of it, so it's Volantia, Decreeism, and Possism. The Possism part is very interesting. And it's the realization of your magic. And I'll talk about that at a later date. Let's just deal with Volantia for now. Volantia is your E. So in Chinese Qigong and Kung Fu, we stand for 3 minutes at a time, 3 to 5 minutes in Santi Shi, which means you have your hand in front of you and you look through it, and you train the E through the what's called the tiger mouth of the hand. Yeah, no, I didn't find Miss Monday until like 25 years later. No, 13 to 28, 15 years later. By the time I manifested Miss Monday, I'd already been doing 15 years of magic. Um, so in the Tao, we say once you find the secret, you think about it day and night, and you never give it up. There are 3 kinds of people: those who will hear of it and think of it now and again. Then there are those who hear about it and laugh out loud, like my uncle, right? He's like, ha ha ha, you idiot, you flat earther. And then there are the rare kind those who are hear about it and think about it night and day. You think about it first thing when you wake up in the morning, you practice it all day long with every breath of life, and then you think about it before you go to sleep at night. And those individuals are rare, but you have found one. I mean, I'm the type of guy, I'm like a dog with a bone, man. I never fucking let go of it. And I knew that all the other bullshit, the ceremony, the ritual, the garb, the incantations, that's all secondary to intention. Doesn't matter if you're drinking coffee or a beer or water. You could do a full on regimen of fasting and purification if you want, but you don't have to. You could live your life like a drunk vagabond and end up dead at 35 or whatever. Doesn't matter. None of that, as long as you're not a bad person, none of that will affect you. Every intention is a prayer. That's right. And your intention reigns supreme. It guides the will. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, writes the great beast. Once you become a magi, once you step through the doors of initiation, karma disappears. There is no karma to the initiated, to the enlightened. Karma is it's a baby's rattle. It's a pacifier to someone who's a practitioner, because it's like wringing your hands when someone does something evil and you're like, "Oh, karma will get them." Ain't gonna fucking happen. It doesn't happen. Those evildoers out there who engage in high wickedness, they're so far beyond karma or karmatic retribution. Now, the subtle arbiter is real. And there are very powerful spiritual beings who will exact justice on certain people. But the general idea of karma is it's a daydream. It's a fantasy. Sad to say, because I know a lot of people buy into it. and they're like, oh, and they use it as a rationalization that yeah, and honestly, I'm not a fan of Crowley's. I only mention him because of his close connection with the magical tradition. Me personally, I think that type of debauchery and abuse of your life force is not the right way to do it. You know, like take it easy on the coffee and the cigarettes, try to live a purer life, drink more water. That's a better path. You don't need to have debauched orgies and shoot yourself up with heroin and smoke crack all day in order to get enlightenment. That's not the way to enlightenment. That's just drug abuse, you know. Voltaire drank 70 cups of coffee a day, and look at how prolific his writings were. So there's something to it. But Crowley's secretary, Israel Regardie, his teaching is pretty spot on. Read more Regardie, abandon your Crowley. I know, see, Paul? And that's what people get into that mindset. They think, oh, yeah, there's going to be karmatic retribution for this guy or the other guy. No, there's not. If someone directly harms you, Paul, send your magic at them because you have a right to defend yourself. And you have a right to defend yourself against psychic attack. And you have a right to retaliate. I mean, don't get into taking revenge. Yeah, Regardie, I.E. Regardie. His first name is Israel, Isra, Israel, Israel. Um, Israel Regardie was Aleister Crowley's, Aleister Crowley's secretary. He's the one that really brought the material forward, though, after Crowley died. So Regardie, I believe, stayed his secretary for about 4 or 5 years, but they were both members of the Golden Dawn. Crowley took his, Crowley took, yeah, that's right, that's how you spell it. Crowley took the Golden Dawn material and made the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, or and so Crowley thought that he was going to come to China and learn Taoist magic, and he came here, and none of the Taoists would have anything to do with him because he wasn't a good guy, and it was easy to see he was a debauch, he was a drug addict, he was a madman, and where am I going with this? Yeah. So they're all high level practitioners, but they were born into it, so they consider themselves to be like blue blood elite, and they think they got it figured out. But that's not the way the Tao works. The Tao works on purification and I mean, I'm not the most perfect representation of Tao, obviously, but purification of the physical form in order to create a better spiritual form. But there's also virtue in Tao, which means you need to do what you need to do. And if that means having a cup of coffee, then have a cup of coffee and fucking enjoy the coffee. If it means having a Dr. Farrell occasionally, then have a Dr. Farrell and enjoy that. Like Dr. Farrell's a good representation of Tao, right? Um, yeah, Tao can mean anything to anyone. Like Dr. Farrell practices Tao. He writes his books. He lives his ordinary life, and he's a smoker and he smokes his cigarettes. You could see him fucking enjoying his cigarettes. He enjoys his tobacco, and he speaks straight from the heart. And he doesn't try to push other people around. That's Tao. Tao is not interfering with other people's thing. Like you don't try to push other people or bully them or formulate their opinions for them. You present what you've worked on and they get their evaluation of it. Dark journalist, he practices Tao. He talks a lot about the mystery school. I have my apprehensions about Gigi, the queen of woo woo, right? Uh, but you need your mystic. That's Dark journalist is the Magi, and Gigi is his high priestess. So that's also very hermetic, right? Yeah. So wow, man, 45 minutes. I got to start working on dinner, man, because these everyone's gonna start coming home hungry. It's about 5:30 here in the evening, and I had only planned on maybe going 15 20 minutes, and here we've almost gone a full hour. I just wanted to get a little shout out for Eric Dubé, Paul, Karen. Good to see you guys out in the ideas room. Let's keep the conversation going. Don't forget if yeah, woo woo GG. Yeah. Uh, she maligns the Greys, and I got a problem with that because they're just low level astral creatures. They're just looking for love in all the wrong places. Ain't nothing evil about the fucking Greys. Come on. Anal probe ain't gonna hurt you. All right, y'all, good looking, sexy people out in Happy Land. Stay well, and looking forward to the next transmission. Until then, it says in broadcast, but you know better. It goes on and on into the abodes of the future. Alrighty. Good magic, everyone.